Okay, 8th grade students, this demo video is going to show you how to do the second half of the kaleidoscope portrait edit. We did the first half during week 13, and we are doing the second half during week 14. So again, we are using PixLR for this edit, and we got to this step last week. So these are the layers that you should have so far. So last week, just to review, we had made a copy of the background photo, and then we used that copy to create what you see on layer 3, which is this kind of shadowy, colorful effect. And we're going to do this again. So a lot of the edit that we're doing today is going to be a little bit repetitive of what we did last time. So hopefully that's going to make it a little easier. So what we need to do is we need to make a copy of our background photo again. So there's two ways to do this. You can be on your Arrange tool and hit Duplicate, or you can click on these three dots right here, which are your layer settings, and there's a duplicate layer button right there. So we have our background copy again, and hopefully you guys remember after we made that background copy, we inserted a blank layer. So we're going to do that by pressing this plus sign right here, and we're going to select empty. Now it's important that that blank layer is directly above the background copy. So we're going to drag that down so that it's right above the background copy, okay? So we're gonna go ahead and repeat the steps from last time. We're gonna fill this layer with color. So we're gonna pick a new color. We used whatever color you used last time. I used red for this one. And I would try to pick a color that will contrast that. So I think I'm gonna go with blue. And I'm going to make sure that I am highlighting the blank layer. So always double check your layers to make sure you're editing the correct one. And I want to fill this layer with my color. I'm going to pick my fill tool and click right on it. Now that's normal. Since layer 3 is currently on top of layer 4, we're still going to see some of layer 3, and that's okay. So layer 4, we are going to open the layer settings, and we're going to again choose the blend mode, multiply. Okay. And we are going to merge that layer down into our background copy. So we're going to press merge down. All right. So now we're going to repeat the same step when we moved our red layer or whatever color you used. We're going to move the blue layer over. So I'm going to go over to my Arrange tool and make sure you're on layer 4 because that's the one we're trying to move. And, oh, you know what? Hang on, I skipped a step. We need to turn the transparency down. So we want to turn that down to somewhere between 60 and 70. And now we can go ahead and move that layer. In this one, I want to actually make it a little bit larger so we can play with size a little bit. And I'm going to move it right about there. And you know what? For my aesthetic choices, I think I'm actually going to make it a little bit darker. So I'm going to go at 74. Okay. So we have moved it. We've changed our size. Now we need to get rid of this really harsh blue edge that we have. So we used our cutout tool for that. We need to go to the draw mask, which is the paintbrush. Make sure you're on remove. We want a large brush, so I think I was happy with like 200 or 400. That's a good size. And we really want to turn that opacity down. We want it really low. I'm going to go down even into like the 20s this time. Now look at my background is currently highlighted, but I want to actually erase some of the blue from layer 4. So make sure that you are on that layer that you just moved. That's the one we want to actually be erasing from, and it should show red means removing. So you're going to have to go over it a few times because it's removing just a little bit at a time, which is what we want because we don't want a harsh edge. So I'm just kind of swooping over this until it's giving me the soft edge that I want. I'm going to go even lower on my opacity, like really low, maybe even into the teens, to you know what? I don't like that. I just did that. I'm going to undo. So sometimes it takes a little bit of practice. It made it too light into the face part right there, so I didn't like the way that was looking. So I'm going to undo that. And I'm going to try again. I'm going to turn this opacity down super, super low so I can try to get this area right here. I'm trying to get rid of that line. Okay. Going to say that that is going to be good for now. All right, so I'm happy with that. So we're getting close to the end. We've got a few more steps left. We are going to actually duplicate layer 4. So the layer that we just finished editing, we're going to make a duplicate of that. So make sure that you're on layer 4 copy now. Yours might have a different number, that's okay. I'm going to go to my arrange tool and I'm going to drag that down. We want one more version of our face to get that full kaleidoscope effect. This one I'm going to make smaller. So I'm decreasing the size. Now again, if you notice, it moved my layer select to the background. I want to go back up to that layer that I just created because I'm going to get rid of this blue right here. So I'm going to go back to my cutout mask, my draw mask. Now look at the mode is set to add to mask. Remember to switch it to remove. And I can turn my opacity up a little bit more. And I'm just getting rid of this line right here. And since the opacity is so low, that's why I have to keep going over it, but that's good. We want it to be a soft eraser. We don't want it to be a harsh line. So this is exactly what we want. Okay. Now the last thing we're going to do before we put our final filter over this is I want to make this face look blurry. So I'm going to go to, let me remember, filter. That's correct. I'm going to go to filter, I'm going to go to details, and I'm going to go to blur. And make sure that you're on the correct layer. So I want to be on this layer right here. That's the smaller face that we just created down there. Details, blur, and we're just going to blur that however much you want. I don't go too far because then it just becomes like a blob. So somewhere about right here is good. And that makes it just like a little bit blurrier. It gives you that real kaleidoscope effect. So the last thing we're going to do to really make this look like a kaleidoscope is we're going to go to File, Browse Elements, and we're going to pick an overlay. The overlay that works best for the effect we're going for is called Leak. They are in alphabetical order. So we are looking for Leak. Oh, hang on. So we have leaks and we have light leaks. The light leaks though is not free. You have to pay for that. So we're gonna go with this one because it's free. And when you click on it, you can see the preview of what that filter looks like. And you can also increase or decrease the transparency and you can get a preview. Now, I would not want to pick one like this because that's covering up all of the hard work you just did. If you wanted to use that effect, I would definitely decrease the transparency a lot. Otherwise, it's just covering up everything that you just worked on. So we could try that, see if we like it. That looks pretty cool. But if you end up deciding you're not happy with that one, you can, oh, hang on. We'd have to delete the layer. Okay, so you can try a couple different effects. So let me just pick one and then I'll show you guys how to save this to your computer. Say I'm going to go with this one, turn my transparency down, and I'm done. So I go to File, Save, and you can just save it as a JPEG. Now if you wanted to edit these layers later on because you weren't done, save it as a PXD. PXD will actually save each individual layer, so when you open the project in Pixlr again, you have your layers still available to edit. So if you're not done, save it as a PXD. If you're finished, JPG is fine. Download, and that's it. It's on your computer.